Welcome, dear friends. Today we embark on a journey into the depths of human connection, specifically, the sometimes painful terrain of love that isn't truly love. In the vast landscape of relationships, there are patterns that reveal when someone's affection is not genuine, patterns that speak volumes about both the other person and ourselves. When someone doesn't love you, you will notice it not through their words, but through the subtle shift in their energy. The unconscious always seeks to manifest truth, even when that truth brings pain. Today we'll explore 5 profound signs that indicate when a man doesn't truly love you, signs that emerge from the shadow, from projection, and from the unconscious forces that drive human behavior. Before we begin, I invite you to take a deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs. Notice the space it creates within you. This awareness, this consciousness of your own being is the foundation of all authentic relationships, including the one you have with yourself. The unconscious speaks through behavior. In my years of studying the human psyche, I've observed that what we repress never stays repressed. It lives on in the unconscious, and despite what our egos would have us believe, the unconscious mind is the one truly running the show. When someone doesn't love you authentically, their unconscious will reveal this truth through their actions, often before they themselves are fully aware of it. The American landscape, with its vast deserts and towering mountains, mirrors our internal terrain, places of barrenness and majesty, of emptiness and fullness. Just as you might sense a storm approaching in the Nevada desert long before the first raindrops fall, your intuition can detect the absence of love before your conscious mind acknowledges it. Let us now explore the 5 signs that reveal when love is absent, even when words might suggest otherwise. Sign 1. The absence of nurturing care. The first sign manifests in the absence of nurturing care. Love, in its most authentic form, is expressed through acts of tending to another's well-being. When someone truly loves you, they demonstrate this through consistent care, not just in grand gestures, but in the quiet moments of everyday life. When a man doesn't truly love you, you'll notice he never truly takes care of you. Love requires nurturing. If he doesn't tend to you when you're sick, hold you when you're sad, show up in surprising ways, do small favors, or find some way to make you feel cared for, he doesn't love you. This absence becomes particularly evident during times of vulnerability. When you're ill, he maintains distance rather than offering comfort. When you face challenges, he remains uninvolved rather than providing support. When you achieve something meaningful, his celebration feels hollow or non-existent. Think of the great sequoia trees of California. They've stood for centuries because they've developed complex root systems that support one another underground. True love functions similarly. It creates an invisible network of support that sustains us through life's storms and droughts. Ask yourself, when was the last time this person demonstrated care for you when there was nothing to gain? When was the last time they anticipated your needs before you expressed them? The answers may reveal more than you're ready to acknowledge. The absence of nurturing isn't always dramatic. It's often found in the small moments, the unreturned text when you're feeling low, the forgotten birthday, the lack of interest in your dreams and fears. These seemingly minor oversights accumulate over time, creating an emotional deficit that no amount of occasional attention can fill. Remember that true nurturing isn't about perfection. It's about presence and intention. It's about showing up consistently, even when it's inconvenient or difficult. When someone loves you, they find ways to nurture your spirit, your dreams, and your well-being. Their care becomes a shelter in which you can safely grow. Sign 2. Emotional unavailability and distance. The second sign manifests as emotional unavailability, a persistent distance that feels like an invisible wall between you and your partner. This distance isn't physical. It's a psychological barrier that prevents genuine intimacy from developing. When someone doesn't truly love you, they maintain this emotional distance as a form of self-protection. They may be physically present yet psychologically absent. You'll sense a withdrawal of energy, a lack of enthusiasm, a diminished interest in sharing their inner world with you. This emotional unavailability often stems from what I call the shadow, those aspects of ourselves we've repressed or denied. For many men, vulnerability represents a threat to their constructed identity. They've been conditioned to associate emotional openness with weakness, creating an internal conflict when love calls for precisely this kind of surrender. Consider the vast canyons of Arizona beautiful in their emptiness, yet carved by forces of resistance over time. Similarly, emotional unavailability creates a chasm between two people, a space defined by what isn't there rather than what is. When a man finds himself in a relationship that demands emotional presence, vulnerability, and authenticity, his inner system might react with resistance. His withdrawal, his silence, his sudden coldness are expressions of this internal conflict. He does not know how to express what he feels because he still hasn't learned to feel fully. This emotional distance manifests in various ways. He avoids deep conversations, steering interactions toward superficial topics. He becomes uncomfortable or dismissive when you express vulnerability. He withdraws when emotional intimacy increases, creating a pattern of approach and retreat. He compartmentalizes the relationship, keeping it separate from other aspects of his life. He remains mysterious not out of intrigue but out of unwillingness to be known. For many men, emotional language was silenced early on. When love knocks at the door, bringing with it the need for genuine connection, he closes himself off. His defense is silence. His strategy is escape. Ask yourself, does this person allow you to see their authentic self, including their fears and doubts? Or do they present only a carefully constructed persona? True love requires the courage to be seen in all our complexity, our light and our shadow. Sign 3. Projection instead of perception. The third sign involves projection, a psychological mechanism through which we impose onto others what we don't want to acknowledge within ourselves. When someone doesn't truly love you, they're not seeing you as you are. They're seeing a projection of their own unconscious material. Jung's analytical psychology offers us a powerful key to understanding contradictory behaviors in romantic relationships. When a man who claims to love distances himself or ignores you, it is often not a sign of disinterest, but rather an unconscious reaction to internal forces beyond his control. When falling in love, a man frequently projects onto the woman his anima, the feminine archetype of his psyche. She becomes unknowingly the embodiment of everything he seeks, fears, and desires to integrate. This process creates a distorted perception. He's not relating to you but to his own internal image. True love requires seeing the other person as they truly are, not as a screen for our projections. It demands the difficult work of distinguishing between what belongs to us and what belongs to the other. When someone doesn't love you authentically, they fail to make this distinction. Signs of projection include: they attribute qualities or intentions to you that don't align with your actual behavior. They seem to be responding to someone who isn't you, praising or criticizing aspects of yourself that don't feel authentic. They express disappointment when you don't fulfill unconscious expectations they never communicated. They seem more in love with the idea of you than your actual self. They become disillusioned when you reveal aspects of yourself that contradict their projection. This projection creates a fundamental disconnect. You feel unseen and misunderstood because, in truth, they are not seeing you. They are seeing aspects of themselves they've either idealized or rejected. Consider the reflective surfaces of America's Great Lakes in calm conditions. They mirror the sky perfectly, but with the slightest disturbance, the reflection becomes distorted. Similarly, projection distorts our perception of others, replacing clarity with illusion. Ask yourself, does this person respond to who you truly are or to who they need you to be? Do they allow you to evolve and change, or do they resist when you deviate from their internal image of you? Sign 4. Absence of empathy and understanding. The fourth sign manifests as a fundamental lack of empathy, an inability or unwillingness to understand and connect with your emotional experience. A fundamental human need is to feel seen and understood. Yet some individuals seem incapable of providing this no matter how openly you share your feelings. When someone doesn't truly love you, they remain primarily focused on their own needs and perspectives. Others become mere backdrops or tools. Their relationships remain superficial, creating an emotional void even if they seem polite or considerate on the surface. True empathy requires stepping outside oneself to genuinely engage with another's emotional reality. This deficit becomes glaring during emotional crises. If sharing vulnerability is met with dismissal, silence, subject changes, or minimization, you're overreacting, it's a red flag. This lack of empathy manifests in various ways. They dismiss or minimize your feelings when expressed. They change the subject when conversations become emotionally significant. They become defensive rather than understanding when you share how their actions affect you. They seem bored or impatient when you express needs or concerns. They fail to remember important details about your life and experiences. I believe that this lack could stem from individuals repressing their own inner emptiness or pain. Acknowledging another's suffering would force them to confront their own. An empathetic person offers presence and acceptance, even without solutions. Constantly feeling misunderstood or invalidated in a relationship undermines your sense of worth. Consider the diverse ecosystems of America, from the Everglades to the redwood forests. Each environment requires different conditions to thrive, different forms of nourishment and protection. Similarly, empathy recognizes that each person's emotional landscape is unique and requires specific forms of understanding and care. Connection with someone who cannot or will not engage with your emotional world isn't true connection. It's often just proximity, leaving the soul feeling isolated. Ask yourself, does this person make an effort to understand your perspective, especially when it differs from their own? Do they remember what matters to you? Do they notice when your emotional state changes? True love manifests as a sustained interest in another's inner world. Sign 5. Imbalance of effort and reciprocity. The fifth sign appears as a persistent imbalance of effort and reciprocity. Relationships thrive on mutual investment, both parties contributing to the growth and maintenance of the connection. When someone doesn't truly love you, this balance is noticeably absent. They demand levels of support and care from you that they never offer in return. This imbalance isn't always obvious at first. It often develops gradually, with you assuming more and more responsibility for the relationship's emotional labor. This imbalance manifests in various ways. You consistently initiate contact, plans, and meaningful conversations. You adjust your schedule, preferences, and needs to accommodate them, while they rarely do the same. You remember important dates, preferences, and details about their life, while they forget or dismiss similar information about you. You provide emotional support during their difficulties, but find yourself alone during your own challenges. You make compromises that they take for granted rather than appreciate. This imbalance reflects a fundamental lack of investment. When someone truly loves you, they contribute to the relationship not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire. They want to know you, support you, and grow with you. They recognize that love is not merely a feeling but a continuous choice to show up and engage. Consider the balanced ecosystems of America's prairies, each element contributing to the health of the whole. When one element dominates or fails to contribute, the entire system suffers. Similarly, relationships require balance to thrive. The most telling aspect of this imbalance appears during times of transition or challenge. When you're sick, you still do it all. When you give birth, you still make dinner. When you suffer a tragedy, you still have to tend to your partner's needs. These moments reveal the true nature of the connection, whether it's built on mutual care or one-sided effort. Ask yourself, if you stopped initiating contact or making plans, would this relationship continue? Do you feel appreciated for your contributions or taken for granted? Does this person make an effort to understand and meet your needs? Or are you expected to adapt to theirs? The shadow dance of relationships. These 5 signs: absence of nurturing care, emotional unavailability, projection instead of perception, lack of empathy, and imbalance of effort, often appear together, creating a pattern that reveals the absence of genuine love. Yet understanding these signs is only the beginning. The deeper question is, why do we remain in relationships where these signs are present? What keeps us attached to connections that don't truly nourish us? The answer often lies in what I call the shadow, those aspects of ourselves we've repressed or denied. Our shadow contains our unacknowledged fears, desires, and needs. When we haven't integrated these elements, we're drawn to relationships that reflect our internal conflicts. Perhaps we stay because the relationship confirms our unconscious belief that we're unworthy of genuine love. Perhaps we're repeating patterns established in childhood, seeking to heal old wounds through new relationships. Perhaps we fear the unknown more than we fear the familiar pain of emotional neglect. This is why self-knowledge is essential to creating healthy relationships. Until you make the unconscious conscious, It will direct your life, and you will call it fate. By understanding your own shadow, your fears, projections, and unmet needs, you gain the clarity to recognize when a relationship isn't serving your growth. The journey toward wholeness. The path forward isn't about finding perfect love. It's about becoming more conscious in how we love and allow ourselves to be loved. It's about integrating our shadow aspects so that we can see others and ourselves more clearly. This integration process, what I call individuation, involves acknowledging all parts of ourselves, including those we've rejected or denied. As we become more whole, we naturally attract and create relationships that reflect this wholeness. The individuation process was my way of explaining the path to optimal personal development for an individual. Before this process begins, we have a kind of certainty about who we are. Through the course of our development, we form our self-identity, a composite of traits, attributes, and other qualities we associate with ourselves. But this self-identity is always incomplete. The journey toward wholeness involves integrating the shadow, balancing masculine and feminine energies, anima and animus, and ultimately connecting with what I call the self, the archetype of wholeness, and the regulating center of the psyche. As you become more conscious of these dynamics within yourself, you'll naturally become more discerning in your relationships. You'll recognize the signs of inauthentic love more quickly, and you'll have the courage to seek connections that support your growth rather than restrict it. Practical steps forward. If you've recognized these signs in your relationship, what steps can you take? Here are some practical suggestions. Begin with self-reflection. Ask yourself, what patterns am I repeating? What fears keep me attached to this relationship? What parts of myself am I not acknowledging? Practice self-compassion. Recognizing these patterns doesn't mean you failed. It means you're becoming more conscious. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend. Set clear boundaries. Communicate your needs directly and observe how they're received. True love respects boundaries rather than resisting them. Seek support. This journey isn't meant to be traveled alone. Find trusted friends, family members, or professionals who can offer perspective and encouragement. Engage in shadow work. Explore the parts of yourself you've denied or repressed. What qualities do you project onto others rather than acknowledging in yourself? What fears prevent you from seeking the love you deserve? Practice presence. Notice when you're operating from unconscious patterns rather than conscious choice. Bring awareness to your reactions, especially when they seem disproportionate to the situation. Cultivate self-love. Develop a relationship with yourself based on understanding, acceptance, and care. As you learn to love yourself more fully, you'll naturally attract relationships that reflect this love back to you. Remember that this journey isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each step toward greater consciousness is valuable, even when the path isn't linear. The courage to see clearly. It takes courage to acknowledge when love isn't genuine, especially when we've invested time, energy, and hope in a relationship. Our ego resists this recognition, creating rationalizations and excuses to maintain the status quo. But true growth requires honesty. It demands that we see reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. This clarity, though sometimes painful, ultimately liberates us to create more authentic connections. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Yet this acceptance is the foundation of genuine love, both for ourselves and for others. When we embrace all aspects of our being, including our shadow, we no longer need others to complete us or validate our worth. We become capable of loving from wholeness rather than lack. This wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It means integration, acknowledging all parts of ourselves and allowing them to contribute to our unique expression in the world. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. I invite you to consider your own relationship patterns with compassion and curiosity. The recognition that someone doesn't truly love you isn't a judgment of either person's worth. It's simply an acknowledgement of reality. True love emerges from authenticity, not from projection or fantasy. It requires both people to engage in the ongoing work of self-knowledge and integration. It thrives on mutual respect, empathy, and care. It balances giving and receiving, vulnerability and strength, connection and autonomy. The journey toward authentic love begins with the courage to see clearly both ourselves and others. It continues as we integrate our shadow aspects, balance our internal masculine and feminine energies, and connect with our deeper self. Remember that you are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. Each relationship, whether it continues or ends, offers valuable insights into your own patterns and possibilities. Each experience, whether joyful or painful, contributes to your growth toward wholeness. My soul is a desert, a barren, hot desert, dusty and without drink. The journey leads through hot sand, slowly waiting without a visible goal to hope for. Yet even in this desert, transformation is possible. Even in the most challenging terrain, new life can emerge. As you continue your journey, remember that you're not alone. Countless others have walked this path before you, facing similar challenges and discoveries. No matter how isolated you are and how lonely you feel, if you do your work truly and conscientiously, unknown allies will come and seek you. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. May your relationships with yourself and with others support this sacred journey toward authenticity and wholeness. If this exploration has resonated with you, I invite you to continue the conversation. Share your insights and experiences in the comments below. Subscribe to join our community of seekers committed to greater consciousness in relationships and in life. And remember, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one with yourself. Nurture it with the same care and attention you would give to your greatest love. Until next time, may you walk the path of individuation with courage, compassion, and clarity.